as a coach, I'm coaching a lot of young professionals, and their concern and what they've been seeing is how do they get their resume or their applications noticed by employers? They feel like there's a science to beating the system, and they're interested in how do you do that? So that is that's a concern for a lot of not just new professionals, but just anybody that's seeking employment right now.
Yeah.
And then again, like you see, like there are two issues. Like if you use AI technology for screening a resume, then like you will, if you just base it on the data on the decisions of your recruits in the past, then you will then just reproduce those biases. But then also again, like for me, it's just like, okay, do you really care about people or not? Because like if you would really care about people, you would not just use these tools. And I think that's also a very important thing when it comes to technology. Like I like to talk about ethics as it relates to technology, but I think it's also important to realize that ethics is not something that you need to do afterwards. Like just after you've already finished, in this instance, you've already started to apply the tool. Like you can also, like before you start applying the tool, think about the ethical aspect and think like, how am I going to approach it? For instance, how do my recruiters traditionally make the decisions? Is that in a fair way? And if that's not fair, then it's probably not wise to like just base your AI system on that without any check and balances in place. So I think that's important. That ethics, it starts way earlier. Like even like the decision, like, okay, am I going to do it? Why am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? There's something that you really need to think about before that, because otherwise, like it's like with a lot of the most concerning AI issues that there are, like when it comes to bias, also like misinformation or deliberately false information that is being generated and spread. Means you can think about deep fake videos and voices that are being cloned of people. Like it's an issue and it's a concerning issue. But I'm like, you already knew that before you released the technology, because what we have now is just release the technology, so everybody can use it. And then now, like, oh, it's a difficult thing now. But now it's more difficult to try to do something about it, regulate it. And I'm like, it very much relates to because like you see me on LinkedIn, like a lot of my connections are indeed like I'm very much focused on the Black diaspora, because I'm like, there's a commonality there. Like even though we have been separated for a long time, like you still see that there are things that bind us. But for instance, one of my friends, Ashani Mfuko, even though she does not work on technology, but she very much looks at, for instance, anti-racism aspects. And some of the things that she talks about very much in the work is, for instance, like what she calls like the characteristics of white supremacy culture. And why I bring it up is that one of the aspects of white supremacy culture is, for instance, that progress always means that things need to be bigger and faster. But then when you look at technology, that also means like, okay, we need to just move ahead. We don't need to think, just drop the technology, just make things faster and bigger, use more and more data. Don't even worry about consent, because that's also a thing with this data. Like a lot of these tools, they put they automatically opt you in, and then you need to opt yourself out.
Opt out. Do you know how many times I manage those things? Like when I go somewhere and I always hit manage. Like I always leave, I mean, personally, I always leave strictly necessary with it. You can't do anything about them, but you have to be diligent, because your information is being collected all the time. I want to read some comments. Comments have been coming in like wildfire as you are talking, which is great. Wade says, if AI is used for screening, it can be designed to exclude people based on any number of things. And John says, dangerous to use AI for hiring. It is very limiting. And Wade says, HR groups are already doing it by using specific keywords to exclude resumes. John says, challenging the change after implementing biased AI. Charles, and Charles says, definitely have to have checks in place. Otherwise, the program can continue with the biases in place. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Zege says AI, like any other form of informative technologies, are still subject to biases depending to who or what organization programmed it and why it is used for, and what it is, why and what it is used for. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. It is, we understand that we are still being put at a disadvantage by programming. Like we are still perpetuating. I don't even understand if people understand that you are still perpetuating, even though I heard people say, and I know this to be true to a certain degree, the more you use AI, the more you program it to do so-and-so, but they're overarching things that I have nothing to do with that you've put into the system that I'm working against or trying to battle. Do you understand what I mean? Like I'm trying to be like, well, I understand that there are these things in place, but you want me to use AI, that's great. But now I have to be cognizant of your biases to make sure to circumvent them, to make sure I get what I really need and not to have your biases affect my results, which comes down to making decisions in leadership. As far as I'm concerned, we have to look at these biases and know that that even if we use AI, and I'm not opposed to AI, right? If we use AI for leadership decision-making or any type of decision-making, we have to be cognizant. John, can you put this in? We have to be cognizant. Thank you, John. You're going to get an extra brownie point, okay? You're going to be cognizant of how these biases or how you're going to take this, use it in your decision-making, and then put this forward in your organization, in your department, so are you perpetuating biases, or are you thinking for yourself, or are you really letting someone else do the thinking for you? And I think that sometimes what I personally get concerned about is AI doing the thinking for me, as opposed to an enhancement, if that makes any sense. Go ahead, Michael. This is just so good. I don't even know what to do. I'm sitting here listening to you, and the other part of me is like this. Because it's blowing my mind. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And I have one person I'm coaching with who is very concerned about their digital footprint in this AI world. And any thoughts about that in terms of some of the things that you're talking about in discrimination and biases?
Yeah. I think it's being concerned about this. I think it's very justified and very wise also to be concerned, because like there are, like I said, like if a lot of these tools, like they like I said, like they opt you in automatically. So even if you don't want to, like maybe you don't even know, like maybe you think, okay, I've opted out everywhere, but maybe it is basically undoable for you to opt out of all those, like do that by hand, like all those systems. So like if they really believe that it would be a good thing to opt in, you would also, I would say, like, okay, then let users do that, but don't put them up, because this way, like like you said, they're concerned about the personal data. Well, if they automatically opt you in, that's there's a high likelihood then again that they will then use the data of the person to train their systems. So I think that's a big issue there. But also otherwise, like things like when you look at that deep fake technology, like that has very much progressed. So like the stuff that they can do with with your images that you put online, there's also something that you need to think about, because like, especially in the social media age, like there are a lot of people like that love to put the pictures online, but that can also be misused. So there are examples already, for instance, like that people have taken like the pictures of famous people, for instance, and then use that.
And they're like, it's not me, it's not me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that has already been done. And also like way more sinister cases are already there. But people that, so yeah, I think that concern is very much warranted. And I think like it's important but let me say two things about it. It's important for us as on an individual level to take the measures that we can to protect against that. But there's also like a more regulation aspect from a government level that I'm like, okay, they need to be regulating the technology more. And like I said, it's not rocket science, it is common sense. So if they choose not to do that, if they choose to, for instance, like leave the power in the hands of big tech, those are choices that are made. Like those are also financial choices that are made to do that. But it really also shows like that, like I said, like ethics, that's really something that's in the hands of people. But then again, it's in the hands of people that have the power. And when we look at who has the power, even though, we are all living
who has the power?
Like, exactly. But those big corporations, they are also operating in different countries. So for instance, an example that you also give, like within when it comes to moderation, for instance, online, like on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Those moderators are, for instance, they can be in Kenya. There was a case there. But they need to look at all kinds of disgusting material all the time, which then also traumatizes them. But the big corporations, they're like, they can do whatever they want all over the world, even though they are not in the Kenyan jurisdiction. But yeah, what happened there is that there have been some court cases there that have actually decided that, well, actually, that organization behind those platforms can actually be sued there for the poor work circumstances of the people there. But yeah, it's a difficult field because like I think regulation is important, but the regulation is very much fragmented. So in Europe, they are further along the road when it comes to regulation for AI technology. And on the one hand, there's some people like, that's nice. But like I said, I always keep it real. I'm like, yeah, I am of Afro-Surinamese descent, but we are Africans in Suriname. And that it's all a result of, they call it the slave trade, but it was human trafficking of enslaved Africans.
Right.
But that mindset has not left. So I'm like, when I hear Europe wants to lead in the field of ethics and AI, I'm like, when I look for an example in the field of ethics, I'm not looking at Europe. I'm also not looking at European Americans because like they have already shown me like that ethics is and morals, that's not their strong department. And I'm not saying that to demonize them, but like I'm just keeping it real. Like systemic racism, that's very much a thing.
You have to call a spade a spade.
Europe, in America, but also in South America, but also
everywhere,
when you look at the extraction in Africa, for it's like it's nice to talk about technology, even though I'm also technologist, but when you look at like the resources that are needed to create our devices, you don't hear that on the news a lot. But for instance, the people in the Congo, the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, like they are suffering very much in the mines there. You have children that are like mining by hand, so that the big corporations can have the resources that can then be used within these devices that we use. And they also used, for instance, in the electrical vehicles. So as we talked in Europe and America about sustainability and about the energy transition, this is how that then starts. This is the bottom of that chain. So we have blatant human rights violations that are going on there, but they clearly do not care about that. And the reason that they don't care about that is very much anti-blackness. That's very much, it's obvious if you're real about it. So that's also a thing that's important to just call out because, like, yeah, like I said, like I said, my friend Ashani Mfuko, when she talks about those characteristics of white supremacy culture, it's always like faster, bigger, that is progress. But is it really progress if people are treated like that? Because like if it were white people, if it were white children that were mining by hand there and getting sick there, I remember
it would be over already.
Exactly. So
it'd
that's like
already.
Yeah. So it's like I said, like it's AI is new in a sense, but it's more like it's perpetuation basically of what we've seen in the past. And you see people that are literally looking the other way because when you look at if you see the images from Congo, like that's brutal. But it's also not just Congo. It's like lithium. That's also one of the metals that is used. For instance, in Bolivia and Argentina, that is also mined. But a lot of those deposits are in the lands of the indigenous people, the actual inhabitants of the Americas. And I remember reading an article which also posted about like one of those indigenous people also said like to her it felt like it was again like the conquistadors were coming back.
Right.
It's the same situation. So they offer them like, okay, I'm going to give you a little this so that we can get your resources, but it's the same thing all over again. So I think that's important to recognize when you think about this flashy AI technology and all those other things. Like there are blatant human rights violations going on, and they are going on against people that are Black and that are indigenous and brown people. And we are supposed to act, and that's another layer of dehumanization because it's like they're already dehumanizing people, but if we are then also supposed to act as if nothing's going on, that's again a form of dehumanizing them, but also ourselves, because we are also giving ourselves the mission then like, okay, apparently we don't matter. So yeah, that's a bit of I think it's an important thing too, because this is something that's often left out of technology discussion. So they have like big tech conferences also in Europe, and I'm like, that's nice, but it's very, and that's why I say like I don't look to Europe and North America when it comes to leadership in the field of ethics and morals, because like this is what is going on right now every day. So yeah, it is outrageous then to have such a big tech fest while you're treating people like this and also then lying about it. So yeah.
I think that's the best statement. He said it is outrageous. Like I need you to make a meme about that, Maikel. It's
and
outrageous.
I'm really